Friends, I wish I had been with you in this occasion to speak about Swamy Vivekananda directly to you. But because of commitments here, I am today speaking to you through the camera. Swamiji was born in 1863 at a time when India was in a state of utter depression. 1857 had fizzled out after a valorous attempt to throw the British out, and Veer Savarkar correctly called it our first war of independence. Swamiji very soon, in a short period of 39 years of his life, he transformed the mindset of the Indian people from utter depression to optimism. Swamiji was very clear from day one, it is the mind which is important. You can have numbers, but if your mindset is either in depression or in inferiority complex, you cannot achieve anything. Yes, it is in fact so. You look at if there are 1,000 goats in one place and one tiger comes towards them. The numbers are with the goats, they are 1,000. The tiger is only one. But there is so much fright inside the goats that they all start running in different directions. Only some of them to be eaten up by the tiger. Similarly, strength is not important alone. If you do not have a mind to have the nerve to use that strength when necessary for good causes. If you go to a circus, you will see inside a cage 5 strong lions, well fed, and a thin, wiry ringmaster would enter the cage, close the door behind him, and then crack the whip and ask these lions to climb up on a bench. Each of those lions are so strong that they can, even by a strike by a paw, their paw, leave alone their biting their teeth, they can finish that ringmaster in no time. But they will obey and climb up on the bench. Then he will ask them to open their mouth, and he will put his head inside the mouth of each turn by turn. And that is the way in which the circus is performed. Question is, why is it that these lions do not strike the ringmaster and finish him off? It is because from the cub status they have been brought up to mentally be receptive to orders from the ringmaster, and so they obey because they don't know their strength, they don't have their mindset. This is what Swamiji said, that it is your mindset which is important. Your mind has to be made up. And very often he quoted from the Gita for it. For example, he said in Gita Shloka number 47, chapter 2, that you have freedom only for action, but you have no right to expect that action will lead to fruit. You can work for a goal, but don't be attached to it. If you work with attachment, then you will not get the full benefit of your work. So he motivated people. Today, Swamiji's message in selecting that shloka from Gita is now being taught in the corporate sector in the United States, because they find that corporate executives are all suffering from tension, and they are all the time worrying whether their effort will produce the result, and consequently causes anxiety, and that anxiety causes heart disease. So to control heart disease, they are now teaching them not only yoga but also these shlokas which say that you have a right to action, but you have no right to expect that action will produce the fruit for which you worked. Yes, good action will be rewarded, bad action will be punished, but the timing will be entirely decided by God. This is what Swamiji said to liberate us. Similarly, he used to quote the shloka number 41 in chapter 2 of what Dronacharya, for example, had told Arjuna, but it is now codified as a shloka in the Gita. And that is that if you take up anything, develop what is called a single pointedness of your mind. Don't be distracted. Don't say, I'll do this also, that also. Focus your mind and say, this is my goal and this is what I'll work for. This is what Swamiji said. Now, he also, of course, wanted in the shloka where it says, Sukuduke same kritva, lava lava, jaya jayo, etc. There, what is advocated is sameness of mind. If you win, don't celebrate too much. If you lose, don't be depressed. These are not because of you, but because of the fact that your karmas are bringing you these results. And your effort is only that you have freedom to. Now, in this regard, finally, Swamiji, after his visit to Chicago in 1893, and when he returned after a long tour, his first stop was Lahore, where he gave a speech. And he said that now I am convinced that what the country needs is a Hindu consciousness. That I can only address the Hindus. Yes, Muslims can have their consciousness, but I am the preacher of Hindus. I am a religious leader. So I preach to the Hindus that you develop a Hindu identity, which means the name Hindu should electrify you. If you find a Hindu in trouble because he is a Hindu, then you will spontaneously go to his assistance. This is there in his collected works. To say that Swamiji, as some people are trying to make out, was a very secular person. Of course, Hindus are secular because we are the only religion which says that all religions lead to God. Islam does not say that. Christianity does not say that. They say, no, our religion is the only way. But Hindu never says that our religion is the only way. So you don't need others to give us lectures on secularism. So the question was, in my mind, that if Swamiji's selected works are gone through, can we find out what is the Hindu identity? And the Hindu identity is found, I found out ultimately after reading Swamiji's collected works, is based on the principle of Hindutva. Hindutva means Hindu-ness, the qualities that a Hindu must possess. It's got nothing to do with whether you worship Shiva or you worship Vishnu, none of that, nothing of that kind. It is simply that there are certain values which is sometimes codified in, and presented in Sanatan Dharma, and those values, you see, they are the ones which are to be inculcated. Relationship between husband, wife, father and son, mother and daughter, how we behave towards elders, is so different from how it happens in the Western countries. So there is a distinctiveness about India, and that he called as Hindutva. And he said that even Muslims and Christians, after all, they are from this same soil, that is their ancestors are Hindus. And therefore he wanted a Hindu identity to be recognized for India. And we can say that identity could be called Hindustan. And that Hindustan means Hindus or those others who acknowledge that they are descended from Hindus or their ancestors are Hindus. Now the DNA testing, which is scientific and published in the Journal of Genetic Studies of Cambridge University, very clearly brings out that whether it's a Brahmin or the scheduled caste, or the Hindu or the Muslim or the Christian, they all have the same DNA. This whole theory about Aryan Dravidian was all bogus. It is the British creation to create divisions in our country. We are one people from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, from Gujarat to Assam. We are one country. And we must now, whether we are Hindus or Muslims, think of ourselves as Indians first. Then only everything else. It's easy for a Hindu because the Hindu has that perspective. But because the Muslim preachers and leaders and theological leaders, they all make out that Muslims are an international community and not a national community. That may be a short-term problem. We can cure it. That's not. But I would say India is a land of Hindus as well as those whose ancestors are Hindus. So I think this is one message of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda also debunked this Aryan Dravidian theory, which he said was a British artifact, that we came from North Pole or we came from Europe. He said, total nonsense. Burn these books, he said. Today we are still saddled with this history, unfortunately, because of Jawaharlal Nehru's concept of secularism. And whatever was prescribed by the British is continuing to be used in our country. We therefore now have to recognize that we need a language which is sophisticated. At the same time, it is something that all Indians can learn with equal handicap or equal benefit. And that language is Sanskrit. Swamiji was a very strong advocate of Sanskrit. Learn Sanskrit. You may live in Australia, you may live in America. Now you can learn because of the fact that it's available in videos. Sanskrit has common vocabulary with all Indian languages. Tamil, which is supposed to be a distinctive language, which grew along with Sanskrit instead of being descended from Sanskrit. That language has 41% of words which are from Sanskrit. Even if you object to saying it's from Sanskrit, at least it's common with Sanskrit. Malayalam is 90%. Karnataka is 75%. Bengali is also 90%. Gujarati is about 80%. So all our Indian languages have a common vocabulary. So that is therefore something which we must develop. We must all learn, whether you live in Australia or America, because now NASA has found out, and you can see this in the Google, that Sanskrit is the most computer compliant language. And in artificial intelligence, because in computer science, the most advanced field, Sanskrit is now being used as a medium for storing knowledge. This is our tradition. Just as now everybody is accepting yoga, so soon everybody will start accepting Sanskrit. And we must develop Sanskrit as a linked language, either by Sanskritizing the vocabulary of Hindi to the point where Hindi becomes Sanskrit itself, or we must learn it as an independent language in lieu of Hindi. I have one more thing to add which Swamiji spoke about, and that is called Virat behavior. In other words, the Hindu should not be passive. Swamiji didn't advocate violence, he was against violence. But he said if someone is hell-bent on doing violence against you, you have to finish him off. And that he called as Virat character. So we need today a Virat Hindu identity, or a Virat Hindustan identity. And I certainly think that our brothers and sisters of our same DNA, the Muslims and the Christians, should heed to this call of Swamiji and declare themselves as Hindustanis. And after all, Hindustan is now being used widely. Even corporations like Hindustan Petroleum Corporation or the Oil Corporation or Hindustan Latex, so many other things in the public sector is being named in. India is Hindustan. We are, as a Bharat, we are a republic. But as a Hindustan, we are a cultural identity. Yes, others have contributed too. But like Ganga has so many rivers joining it, but his name remains Ganga. Therefore, We may have contributed, we may be a composite culture, but the name is Hindustani or Hindu. So I urge you today on the day to recognize that after all, Swamy Vivekananda made us liberate our mind, which is how Purna Swaraj call was finally given. A lot of people thought that we cannot rule ourselves, but because of Swamiji's message, we became self-confident. Today, therefore, we have to celebrate his 150th year with great deal of happiness and commitment, and read his selected works or collected works as thoroughly as you can. Thank you very much.